This is the One Lens Challenge 35mm edition, where we're gonna walk around the streets of Orange and using nothing but this lens, natural light, and the composition we can find to create these images.
My name is Pi, and I'm one of the founders of Lynn and Jersa Photography and SLRLounge.com. We're teaming up with Adorama to bring you a new series of photography tutorials called Master Your Craft right here on Adorama TV. So let's dive in.
Hello, my friends. My name is Pi. Welcome to Adorama TV. Welcome to the streets of Orange. So check this out. We're gonna limit ourselves to simply the 35mm focal length. Actually, the 35mm prime is one of my favorite lenses, so I'm excited for this. I'm gonna pair it with the EOS R. So look, choose any one lens, ideally a 35, because we're gonna be talking about a lot of the different techniques we'll be using with this lens, and just take that out and shoot. So why do a one lens challenge? I like to challenge our students, our associate photographers to go out and do this because by limiting your gear, you kind of take away distractions. See, as photographers, we often bring out flashes and equipment and stands and extra lenses. And because you have all that gear, you often end up ignoring the great stuff that's right in front of you because you're thinking about how to use the gear that you brought with you. So I want to eliminate all that. I want you all to focus on the natural existing light, how to shape that light, how to angle, how to compose, everything that you can do with just simply natural light, your one lens, and your camera. Step one, find yourself a lovely subject who will do much of the compositional heavy lifting, AKA Elisa. We will link her up so you guys can follow her on Instagram. And Elisa, you ready to do this?
I'm ready.
Let's go walk around. You might notice that I do have a backpack. I promise, not gonna use anything in there. I'm lazy. I don't wanna walk back to the car. It's a long way. Let's just do this. We're gonna only use this, I promise. Cross my heart, hope. I don't hope that. Terrible saying, stop using it. Let's go right over here. Okay, so we made it 50 feet. We found this spot. Let me tell you why I think it's cool and kind of what caught my eye. Number one, the sun, you can see it kind of landing directly in my face right now, very uncomfortable. But more importantly, it's hitting this wall. It's essentially turning the wall into a large light source, right? I would need a flash and a giant scrim. I need a lot of equipment to replicate this, or I can simply find something that's already existing. Now check this out. If we kind of go deeper into this, you're gonna work these kind of natural reflectors with subject positioning. See, if Elisa scoots into the frame more, so if she scoots in, then she actually starts getting darker. So what we're gonna do is pull her forward towards that natural light source, and you're gonna see her face light up as this sun bounces right off that wall. The other parts of this that are interesting is the background itself. We have this kind of nicely toned wall and building, and I'm shooting on a 35. That means that it's kind of wide, and I'm gonna get a little bit of depth and distortion there, which is gonna pull those lines right into her. So I have these nice lines and everything kind of built into the scene. All I really gotta do is set my exposure. So I'm gonna set this to 1/500th. Okay, we're at f1.4. I'm gonna leave a little bit of depth in the shot. I'm actually gonna go to like f2 just for a little bit more sharpness. I love that. Right there. And we're gonna stick it with low ISO. I love it. Beautiful. Perfect. I love those shots. Such an easy and simple way of essentially adding flash to your shots without actually carrying a flash with you. Let's go and find another one. We're gonna go to that little spot, those arches right there. I feel something good is gonna happen by going over that spot. Okay, so there's tons of interesting opportunities here, but one of the cool things that I'm seeing is that giant reflector that we kind of pointed out on that side of the wall, it's still working for us, right? On this side of the building, I can see that light landing and it just looks beautiful. So here's what I'm thinking. I have the 35mm lens, it's kind of wide. So I'm gonna use some of that as we kind of use some lines that drop into the frame and maybe conceal part of the frame. So maybe like almost like a peekaboo kind of shot. Let me just show you. Okay, so Elisa, I'm gonna have you come right up here and I want you to kind of interact with the wall a little bit. The light looks fantastic. You guys got to see this from my side. Look at the light quality from my side, okay? Now what I'm gonna do here is actually go to a wide aperture because I really want the depth to show through. And that kind of, this door and this background right here, I want that to really be concealed a little bit. I'm gonna go to f1.4 and I'm gonna bring the lens right up to this wall to kind of create this nice little graduation in color tone. I love that. That's gorgeous. Elisa, come out a little bit from the wall. Right there. This light and the kind of contouring that we're getting on the face is absolutely beautiful. So come to my perspective, and let me kind of point this out. So I'm gonna keep my distance here, but look at the way that the cheekbones are kind of lighting up, and we get this beautiful shadow right across the face that is really defining the jawline, the nose, and everything exceptionally well. So I love this angle, this look. I'm gonna go portrait aspect. Notice one thing, I'm cropping below the hip at the thigh at a tapering point. So where the body is kind of narrowing, that's where I'm cropping because it's more flattering. If we crop where the body widens out, it makes it look like it keeps widening throughout the frame. So it kind of makes somebody look larger than they are. So we don't generally want to do that. Beautiful. I love both the portrait shots here as well as the landscape shots look absolutely fantastic. I love this line that leads into her. I love using a little bit of the brick to kind of almost cover the face a little bit. So what you're gonna do is kind of get a focus and then work right into that wall a little bit so you kind of get this nice depth right there. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, so we've got a cool spot. It's on the ground. Now you might not think of doing this a lot, but anytime you see like a cool kind of pattern or texture on the ground, this is a really simple technique. Elisa, you're gonna go ahead and lay down. As long as your subject is down to lay down. You know, if they're in a wedding dress, maybe don't do this. Okay, now what you're gonna do is stand kind of directly over them. 35 is the perfect focal length for this type of a shot because we can kind of get enough of the background, the texture, everything like that in the frame without going like too close on the face and everything. You're gonna notice that right now, Elisa's face is actually gonna be completely lit by the sky. And the beautiful thing about this is we're gonna have fantastic catch lights. It's gonna look really great. I'm gonna use Elisa's hands to kind of frame the face a little bit. We're gonna stand directly over her. I'm also gonna actually go to F4, 1/500 of a second and ISO 800. You know, we can actually let's take the shutter speed down and take the ISO down. So let's go to 1/250th, F4, and ISO 400. And let's go ahead and shoot this. Now, Elisa, is it okay if I step kind of on both sides? This is gonna get more awkward before it gets better. All right, here we go. I dig that. And Lisa, what I want you to do actually is straighten the head, and I'm gonna put you over. Okay, do you see this one right here? Where this strip, you know, you have it right here too. Go right here, where your head's kind of right over that, and then let's kind of bring all the hair out so it kind of floats out next to you. Yeah, that's dope. And then straighten the head there, right there. Now bring the hands in. Okay. I love it. Beautiful. And then switch the hands a little bit. I love that. I dig staircases. I'm gonna show you why. Elisa, I'm gonna have you sit actually right on that third step right there. So one of the reasons I love staircases is you kind of get this, well, you get a lot of things. Number one, we have a posing object, so we can kind of get more varied poses, everything like that. But two, it's also kind of added interest in the background that kind of repeats itself. And three, usually in a staircase, if you have a right wall and a left wall, you're usually kind of getting this negative fill light or a bounce light, just depending on the color of those walls. So here, you can kind of see because the light is coming from this side, from the sky and kind of dropping into the staircase, it's almost like a type of butterfly light that's actually directly lighting her face. But because the walls are dark, we get this little bit of negative fill that adds some contouring and shadows onto the cheeks on each side. So what I'm gonna do with that 35, I'm gonna use the focal length to kind of exaggerate the shot a bit. I want you guys to see the exact composition I wanna go for. So this is the shot, the kind of walk-up shot that I want you all to avoid. It's not that it's a bad photograph, okay? Like, it looks okay, and if I take the shot, it would be fine. But what I want you to do is actually lower your perspective and allow the kind of width of this lens to sort of play into framing the shot. We're also gonna place Elisa's face right over the brighter area of the background, so we kind of let the eyes naturally draw into her. So I'm gonna get a little bit closer right there. I love that. Elisa, extend one foot a little bit. Okay, so we're about maybe 50 feet from the staircase, and I noticed this kind of like a gobo-styled reflection landing here on the wall. And what's happening is the sun is bouncing off of this building, and you get this kind of stuff everywhere. Any metropolitan area, you'll get these reflections all over the place. So I'm gonna use that, and Elisa, why don't you sit down kind of in the brightest spot of that light right there. So what I want to make sure here is that the light on her face is the brightest piece of this. So that way, you know, we don't have the chest brighter than the face. You want to make sure that you get them positioned kind of just right. Now we're on the 35, which is perfect for a little bit of a wider shot, and then I'm also going to punch in. But let's go ahead and get our exposure first. Okay, what we don't want to do with a shot like this is expose bright. So let me give you an example of that. This is kind of an example of exposing bright, and really what we're aiming for is a dramatic image. Imagine we're using a flash right here. That's essentially what we're doing. So bring the shutter speed up. I'm also gonna actually close down the aperture. So let's go to, like, say, maybe even like f4. I want this to be a really nice and sharp image. I'm gonna bring my shutter speed back to 1/500th, and I'm even gonna bring my ISO up a little bit. This is one of those scenes that I do like to check my histogram and my highlight alert just to make sure that nothing is blown and nothing's clipped. So right there, Lisa, that looks fantastic. I want you to, actually that's perfect, bring your chin a little bit this way. When we're working with hard light, we really want to angle the face perfectly so we get the nice kind of lines and everything, all the detail kind of right on the face, right? So hard light is a beautiful thing, but you have to be a little more careful with your angles. Right there, Lisa, I love that. Now bring the hands into it. Perfect. And what we're gonna do is get in a little bit closer. I love that. We can even pull back wide. Elisa, for this one, I want you to look kind of towards the light a little bit and away from the camera. I love this low angle right here. We get this beautiful kind of concrete sort of darkening and leading into her. Nice graduation tones with this beautiful highlight of her right against the wall. I dig that. So what you notice me doing a lot right now is kind of moving around. Once my subject is really set up, I like to shoot wide, medium, tight. So make sure you're moving around. It's not only gonna change up the compositions, but you're gonna be able to tell a more complete story by doing so. Think wide, medium, tight, always. I love that. Look out towards the light. Bright. Now look towards me again. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, I'd love for you to like the video, subscribe to the Adorama TV channel, and turn on notifications so next week when I post here, same time, same place, y'all are notified. Also, check out Elisa and her work. We will link up her Instagram in the description below, along with all the gear that we used for this tutorial, which was actually pretty simple this go around. So until next time, peace, have a good time, be safe, bye.